I was pleasantly surprised to hear this from Piers Morgan, of all people. So let me just play the clip, what he says about the World Cup, which is starting this week in Qatar, and then we'll dive into it. So here's the clip.
And also, I've got to say, I find a lot of this sports washing debate laced with rank hypocrisy. I mean, in the end, I read a column last week in which I went through all the problems that all the countries in the last 32 have. And I mean, for example, 8 of the countries in the last 32, that's a quarter of the countries in the World Cup finals, outlaw homosexuality. 1 in 4 countries. So if you're going to use that as the stick to beat Qatar with, you have to then beat the other 7 countries. You don't have a World Cup. And if you don't have it in Qatar, which is the first Middle Eastern country to have it, where do you have the World Cup? Do you go to Africa, where many countries it's illegal to be homosexual? Do you go there? So that rules out that continent. Do you go to America, which has rather draconian laws about abortion, which play very badly, for example, in the UK? In other words, once you start putting your moral halo on,
right,
where does it stop? And who is morally clean enough to actually host a World Cup? Are we the country that illegally invaded Iraq, which then started a 20-year reign of terror by ISIS? Are we morally clean enough to host a World Cup? I mean, I just think it's fraught with hypocrisy.
So a lot.
I'm going to play that bit again.
Laws about abortion, which play very badly, for example, in the UK. In other words, once you start putting your moral halo on,
right,
where does it stop? And who is morally clean enough to actually host a World Cup? Are we the country that illegally invaded Iraq, which then started a 20-year reign of terror by ISIS? Are we morally clean enough to host a World Cup? I mean, I just think it's fraught with hypocrisy.
So a lot of whataboutery there. Is that basically a big...
No, it's not.
It's facts.
Well,
exactly. It's not whataboutery. They're saying that, Qatar is not fit to host the World Cup. Right now, they're focusing on homosexuality because you remember the British government. Christ, I can't remember if this was under Liz Truss or Sunak. I think it was under Truss. The foreign minister was saying, we want people to go to the World Cup, but he was basically saying don't be gay in Qatar. That's what he was saying, and it caused outrage. So now everyone's saying FIFA shouldn't have awarded the World Cup to Qatar because they're against gay rights. And the thing that I remember about Qatar, which was really controversial years ago already, was that they were using migrant workers to build the stadiums. They had all these people coming in from Bangladesh, from all over Asia to Qatar to build the stadiums because you have to do this many years in advance. And they were taking their passports, so they couldn't leave. And you have literally thousands of them who died. I'm not even kidding. This is from The Guardian, and it's from last year, from 2021, okay? This is crazy. 6,500 migrant workers have died in Qatar since the World Cup was awarded. These are from India, from Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and this is in the last 10 years since it was given the right to host the World Cup. I mean, this is already very shady. Everybody knew that they bought their way into hosting it, right? You have all these oil sheikhs who are running around just like throwing dollars into FIFA's pockets, which FIFA already, was corrupt as hell, and this is one of the reasons. It was so obvious, and I think it was Sepp Blatter who was head of FIFA. I don't know if he's still the head of FIFA, but I saw him a few days ago saying that he regrets giving it to Qatar or something. Yeah, well, too late. So basically, I understand, there are legitimate criticisms to be made of Qatar. I just made them for you as well. But I agree with Piers Morgan for once about what he's saying, that, you start saying, well, that country is not morally okay. Like, who are we to speak? If you want to judge our history, I think the UK has done a million things worse than Qatar and still does them, right? And I just want to remind you, it's not that long ago. It's just a few decades that gay people, homosexuals were still being oppressed in the UK. So, and in the US as well, right? This is relatively new that you have progressive, legislation that's been enacted in support of gay rights. But it's not that long ago that these countries, the UK, the US, were oppressing gay people, and now they want to like turn around and point the finger at others after they gave them the thing and they took the money, and now they say, oh no, we shouldn't have given it to you. It's corrupt, and that's the root of the problem here. It's corruption. It's because these countries buy their way into these things. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, they want to portray themselves as these really prestigious, futuristic countries, and it's all from the oil money. And I saw this also in the Telegraph. So the England team basically met with the migrants who helped build the stadiums. Which, I mean, that's a nice thing to do, but I don't know if it makes up for the mistreatment, which is kind of putting it mildly, the mistreatment against the workers. So I don't know. I mean, there are people saying you should boycott the World Cup. I think that's kind of like shifting the responsibility onto the fans. The responsibility does not lie with the fans on who gets the World Cup. The responsibility lies with FIFA. If they actually care about these things, they care about gay rights, they care about migrant workers, their human rights, they shouldn't have given it to Qatar in the first place. So, you can't come here after 10 years and say, oh, look, it's up to the fans now to boycott it. No, the fans want to watch football. The World Cup is the most watched sports event on planet Earth. There is nothing more popular than the Football World Cup. So people are obviously going to watch it, but you shouldn't come at the last minute and say like it's the fans' responsibility now. And just to show you again how corrupt FIFA are, they were saying that this photo op that the England team did with the workers is not okay because they should leave politics out of the sport. And that's something they always say when it's convenient for them. You have people who are bringing Palestinian flags or whatever it is, or Catalonian flags, and they would tell them, no, that's not okay. You have to leave politics outside the stadium, right? You have to leave it at the door. And you guys remember when the Ukraine war started, all of a sudden in Munich, they were not only bringing politics into the football stadium, they even changed the flags. There are four corners in the stadium, right, on the pitch. And usually the flags are bright red or bright yellow. And they changed the flags to the Ukrainian flag. So now suddenly politics is okay in sports. Wow. They would fine clubs before if their fans misbehaved, and brought like a Palestinian flag or any sort of political stuff, right? They would fine them. But then the Ukraine flag is okay. Sure, totally. That's fine. That's not politics. And now again, when it doesn't suit them because they're corrupt and they gave this to Qatar, now they're saying, oh, no, you can't meet with those peasants who built the stadium. Stay out of this. Don't bring politics into sport. Anyway, man, I don't know if I'm going to watch it at all. I'm going to watch it, but I just mean like it's so disappointing with this England team. Every single tournament, they get kicked out in the quarterfinal with penalties every single time. I remember the last World Cup, they what was it, against Colombia? I think they beat them at penalties, which was a surprise, something I did not expect. And then 2 years ago in the Euro Cup, they made it to no, not 2 years ago. It was last year. They postponed it. Yeah, they made it to the final. And that was, again, that was my fault. I had false hope again that they would actually win something. No. So I don't know if I'm going to be throwing my support behind them this year. But anyway, you guys let me know in the comments if you're going to watch the World Cup and who you're supporting. I think England's group is Iran, the US, and I forgot the other country. Because it's 4 countries in a group, right? You start with group stages, and then it progresses to into finals. So every time the cup starts, the host country plays the first match. That's normal. So yeah, England are with Iran and US and Wales, I think it is. Yeah, right. That's Group B. So there you go. And of course, there are many other countries qualified. I remember the French, they lost against Portugal in the Euro final, not the last one, the one in 2016, was it? No, which one was that again? Yeah, and then they went on to win the World Cup 2 years later. So who knows what England does? We'll see.